think without further delay, let me proceed to today's topic, which is project monitoring and controlling, right? Okay. So again, as usual, this is quick chat. Because for all my class, I will always do this quick chat so that it is easier for us to keep on tracking our current progress or our current status for both of the topics and also assessment, right? As I mentioned just now, this is the final topic for my part. So far, I have covered these three topics. So for today, week 13, this is the final topic on project monitoring and controlling, right? So later I will explain more on these two items, CPI and also, sorry, SPI. SPI. Okay, so another thing for the assessment, which is only 10% for my part, we already done previously on week 10. Okay, so let's proceed. For today, there are several subtopics to be covered. Most of the subtopics are focusing on the principle or the briefly on the fundamental related to this topic, project monitoring and controlling. So we are going to look at on definition, purpose, component, frequency, and also documentation related to the project monitoring and controlling, right? And then we will gonna cover on methods of monitoring, project control cycle, and at the end, we will focus on this earned value analysis, okay, as part of the content for this topic. I mean, content for the topic. Okay. All right. So before I'm going further to describe or to explain more on this topic, let me have some overview for this project monitoring and controlling. So I'm sure that some of you are already aware regarding this one, and actually I already mentioned this one in other subject because for your information, project estimating are also related to the another subject of project planning and scheduling, and also sometimes it's related to the financial management. So later on you can see there are some relation or some connectivity between the subject or also the content in terms of the content. Okay. All right. So in terms of the relationship between the all of these project objective and also resources and also key activities, I will explain how all of these are related, okay, interrelated, right? As we already know that these are three main project objectives, such as cost, time, and scope, right? For any project or for any construction project, for any development, so supposedly these three are the main objective, okay, that the developer or the contractor try to achieve, okay. And at the same time, we have these three, another three, quality, safety and health, and also environmental component or environmental compliance, okay. So these three are also needs to be properly considered in any project or in any development that the contractor or the client, the developer focusing on constructing, right? So these three are additional objective or the aim for the project. Okay, so they need to balance each of the project objective, right? So once we have this objective, so for sure for any project or for any construction activities to constructed or we want to proceed with the construction, so for sure we need to have resources here. So So far, I think most of you already aware and already know what's actually the main resources required for construction project or any other project. Okay, for example, here we have, we have manpower, machinery, and because this one I have mentioned quite several times, material, method, and also money. Okay, so these are project resources. Okay, so what's actually the relationship between this project monitoring and controlling to the project objective and the resources? Okay, so basically, if we want to construct the activities, if we want to proceed with the project, there are several key activities involved, right? Especially for the project management as a whole. So there are several common activities or key activities that required to be conducted in order for us to manage a project, to construct a project. So some example planning, organizing, planning the what we call the stages of phase at the early part. We need to plan everything. That's why we have subject for project planning and scheduling. So that one will be at the early part. We need to plan for everything. Okay, in terms of the resources, in terms of the duration, and also the cost for the project. And then we also have need to carry out another key activities of organizing. We need to organize everything, and in terms of the staffing, we need to allocate or properly organize and allocate each of the required manpower. Staffing in terms of the staff required, for example, HQ of the site office, HQ of the project, and then for the site office. Okay, that one will involve in terms of the manpower and also labor, right? And communicating is also part of the key activities because everything needs to be well communicated, okay, so that we can deliver the works, we can construct the works in an efficient way. Because most of the time, miscommunication may lead to severe problems, okay? If there is, for example, if there are some miscommunication between the parties involved, so that one will, for example, let's say there are some miscommunication in terms of the design itself, so that one will cause a variation order, and at the end, that one will cause a delay of the work progress. Okay, that's why communicating is also part of the key activities, right? And the other, at the latter part, we need to have these two key activities, which involve monitoring and controlling. Okay, so at the early stage, we have planning and then organizing here throughout the project life cycle, and then staffing, communicating, and other key activities. And at the end, at the latter stage or latter part, we will need to conduct the monitoring and control. So these two key activities relate to the project objective or project life cycle, and also how it's related to the whole process of the construction or the project. Okay, this is how these two appear to the project life cycle. Okay, so far is everything okay? Is it clear? Okay, thank you for your response. Hopefully all of you can grab the idea, can grab the content of this topic, right? So if you have anything to ask, don't hesitate to discuss it. You can just directly ask me so that we can clarify on the matter right away. Okay, so now we will continue to the next one, still on the overview for the project monitoring and controlling. So we try to cover on the basic definition. Okay, what's actually monitoring refers to, and same goes to the controlling. Okay, so that we can easily understand what's actually that key activities refers to. Right. So generally, monitoring is referring to the uh, what we call process that we conduct to collecting, recording, and reporting information which concerning or related to the project performance that is required for the project manager and others we wish to know. Okay. Others can be client, right? Most of the time, okay, usually client will want to know the current progress of the work. So any progress or any changes, deviation of the progress, the client wish to know, right? Okay, so that one for monitoring. And for controlling, it's mostly referred to the adjusting activities by using data available from monitoring. Okay, so these two are interrelated, okay, for these two key activities in order to bring actual performance to planned performance. So this controlling is very essential because if the project manager or the maybe the uh, project supervisor notice there are some deviation or some delays for the progress of work or the activities of the project. So they try to monitor on that, and if there are some deviation, they try to bring back the actual performance to the match to the planned performance so that they can reduce the effect of delays, and if possible they try to avoid totally avoid the delay, okay? Depending on the situation, depending on the scope of their work, right? So that's why monitoring and controlling are very crucial because they need to apply this, they need to implement this in order for them to avoid any delays or any what we call related problems for the project progress. Okay. Okay. So the next one is this one most likely I already mentioned just now, but it's okay. So we will look at the purpose of both project monitoring and controlling. Okay, why we need to conduct this? What's actually the importance or the requirement for this one? Because actual situation or actual condition ongoing the site don't always go according to the plan, regardless the extent of the planning. So regardless of how well we plan or how good our planning is, sometimes there are still some issues or some method that can affect our planning. So that's why we still need the project monitoring and controlling for our project. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, it is to detect and to react appropriately to any deviation or changes of the plan. Okay, so this is the main purpose of project monitoring and controlling. Okay, right. So the next one. Still on the overview for project monitoring and controlling. Okay, this is main components for project monitoring and controlling, which can be divided into two categories. Okay. The first one we have physical, and then the other one we have financial. So mostly physical related to the progress of work in terms of the duration of the project. Duration for this one. How well the project is progress based on its physical progress, mostly the duration and also time. Okay. So the project manager or anyone who responsible will monitor the project in terms of the physical progress. And then the other thing is that the other component is in terms of its financial progress. So if we relate to the cash flow, okay, this one related to the financial management and of project planning, scheduling, we have physical S-curve and also financial S-curve. Okay, both of these relates on how to present the works physically and financially. Okay. In terms of physical, it is predictably measuring the actual completion of activities and milestones. Okay, in terms of its delays, in terms of its progress of works, either they are on track or behind the schedule. Okay, so that they can monitor, and if there is any delay or any problems to the progress, they try to control that and try to take the corrective action. Okay. And for the next one, the next one, just now, the next one. Okay, for the physical monitoring and controlling, it is comparing the actual completion of activities and milestone against the schedule. Okay. This is just similar to what I have explained just now. Okay. We are comparing the actual to the plan or schedule work progress, okay, documented in the project plan. And we try to identify significant deviation from the schedule estimate in the project plan. Okay. So it's quite similar, okay, as I mentioned just now. Similar goes to the financial project monitoring controlling. So this one relates more on cost. Okay. In terms of the budget allocation, in terms of the progress of the project financially, okay, so that the contractor can allocate their budget accordingly in order for them to deliver the works, right? Okay, so it is basically predictably measuring the actual effort for cost expended and staff assigned. Okay, so they try to focus on the cost of the project. Okay, by comparing the actual effort, cost, staffing, and training to the estimates. Okay, they try similar to here. They try to compare the actual one with the what they have planned in terms of the financial. And any significant deviation from the budget should be identified and should be corrected, right? So that one will avoid the case of our budget, and budget issue most of the time will affect the project progress. Okay, they will short of the fund, short of the capital, so we lead to the problem, right? Okay. Still the next one. Okay, before that, so far is everything okay? Or we proceed to frequency of project monitoring and controlling. Okay. So throughout our class, if you have anything to share based on your experience, you may do so, okay, so that we can discuss together. Right. Okay. Okay, now for the frequency of project monitoring and controlling. Okay, in terms of how frequent we should conduct the project monitoring and controlling, still varies depending on the requirement of the project actually. Depending on the scope, depending on the activities or the size of the project. So the requirement or the frequency to conduct this project monitoring and controlling vary according to the different type of project. Okay, for example, we supposed to conduct the project monitoring and controlling regularly and continuously. Okay, so that this one will be continuous effort, continuous activity, and regular activity for us to maintain the supervision or monitoring on the project condition, so that any deviation can be detected right away and corrected accordingly. Okay, so that by having sufficient monitoring and controlling, we can do so. We can what we call correct the activities right away, correct the issues or correct the problem right away, so that at the end it will not affect the total progress of code. Okay, so it also can be logically. Okay, it can be done when project manager think it's necessary to be conducted, so it should be logically. Okay, if the works progress very well, okay, with the good record in terms of the duration, in terms of the financial, so it's actually quite okay for them to not do a quite frequent monitoring and controlling, unless they notice there are some delays, there are already what we call the current progress of the works behind the schedule, so they need to always keep on monitoring the project and control as necessary. Okay, end of the project, meaning that these key activities can be what we call can be conducted at the later part of the project life cycle. And similar goes to the at task completion. Okay, each completion of the task still can be monitored for further improvement. And this one as soon as possible if there is sudden problem happen on site, so they need to do the detailed monitoring and they need to control the problem right away. Okay, so that's regarding the frequency of project monitoring and controlling. So now we will cover on documentation of project monitoring and controlling. Right. So for the documentation of project monitoring and controlling, how we want to extract the information, how we want to collect the information for the purpose of monitoring and controlling. There are several sources here. Is, for example, we can do the monitoring and controlling by meetings with the clients or parties involved in the project. For example, contractor, supplier, and other parties such as subcontractors. Okay, so by through conducting this meeting, we can detect any problems or we can detect anything that hinder the project to be well progressed. Okay, so that's the function of the meeting. Mostly we call it a progress meeting. Okay, it is part of the project monitoring and controlling. And then apart from the meeting, we can refer to the schedule, right? For the purpose of monitoring and controlling, we can update the CPA, Gantt charts, update the Gantt chart, all of the available work program or the Gantt charts available for the project should be updated based on the current project progress. Okay, and then refer to the project milestone, okay, accordingly, and any progress report based on the meeting, based on the progress on site. So there should be progress report. So we need to monitor all of those documents. Okay. Another ways is that by conducting test and inspection on site inspection, so that the site supervisor or project supervisor, anyone who responsible or related to conduct the works need to carry out the test or inspection, okay, so that they can inspect the current progress of work. Okay. And then this one, delivery or staggered delivery depending on the nature of the work. Okay, uh, how the work progress. Okay, and the other thing is project information system updating. All of the required information and system need to be updated, right? So that anything they can refer to the latest information. Let's continue. The next one we are going to look at on methods of monitoring. Okay, so basically there are several types of method for monitoring. Here we have 4 different methods. Okay, the first one we will have time measurement for the purpose of uh, monitoring, and then cost measurement. So this one time more on duration, cost, and then labor time focusing on the resources itself, and then work quantity measurement. Okay, these 4 are the methods of monitoring. So we try to look at briefly each of these methods. Right, for time measurement, it is one of the most commonly used method. Okay, used by the project manager, used by the related parties such as site supervisor or anyone, any parties that responsible to monitor the works. Okay, so it is a common method use or common method practice in the actual industry, in the actual construction project. So for this method, there should be agreement from both parties, both by the contractor and also by the client side. Right? So here there are bar chart here showing the work plan, okay, the common work plan. Here we have what we call the list of activities, duration. Okay, this is just a simple example for bar chart of the work plan. And based on this, they can monitor the total weeks and also the running total weeks in terms of the duration of the project, okay, physically. So that's why here we have physical aspect, okay, for the monitoring purpose of the work, right? Okay, so this one based on time measurement. So we will have physical aspect. And then the next one, number 2, so number one, we have time measurement. Next one, number 2, we have this cost measurement. This method is also most popular method used by the contractors to monitor the works. Okay, and it is focusing on the financial progress. That's why we call it as cost measurement. So the progress of the work will be measured in terms of the financial progress. Okay. Similarly, this is the bar chart. However, we, on our right side we have financial aspect. Okay, for the second method of the monitoring. So that's the main difference between the first and the second method. The first one is more on physically physical progress in terms of the duration, and the second one is financial progress. Okay. The next one, because all of the subtopic are quite straightforward. Okay. Hopefully all of you can understand this. Okay. Right. The next one we have the third one, labor time measurement. Okay, for the labor time measurement, it requires users to identify labor requirements such as man hours, man days, or man weeks. Okay, this is depending on their basis, hourly, daily, or weekly basis, right? And the value for the labor time measurement can be distributed prorated as cost method, meaning that they can distribute the value in average, okay? In equal amount. Prorated refers to the equal amount of the value. And then value adjustment can be made according to the productivity. So that's how they monitor the progress based on labor time measurement method. Okay, this should be the third one. And then we have another one, work quantity measurement. Okay, work quantity measurement, as compared to previous one, we have labor time, focusing on the time spent by the manpower or the labor to measure, to construct the work, or to deliver the works, or to construct the activities. Okay, for example, concrete works, or they have any other works such as formwork and the rest of the activities. So that one will be monitored. Okay, and the final methods for monitoring is related to the work quantity itself. Okay, we need the quantity of each single activity or single work, right? Okay, the important part is that for this method, it is only suitable for certain organization that plan the work or activity limited to a particular time. Okay, for example, they have earthworks, strata, ceiling. So this one more suitable for each split of the activity. Okay. Similarly, these two, just the same with the previous method, the value can be distributed correctly. Amount, source method, and value adjustment can be made according to the work productivity or the output. So, output of the work or the single activities of the construction project. Okay, and then I think this one the subcomponent, subtopic for today's topic of project monitoring and controlling. Okay, so now we will focus on the project control cycle. Because now we have focus on the monitoring part. This one for project control cycle, we have, okay. So for the cycle, we have process and activities needed to correct physical or financial deviation from the plan. Okay. Most of the time, what we are going to control is that we are going to control the triple constraint. Okay. All these triple constraints consist of time, schedule, needed duration. This one for physical, and then we have cost, including the budget, expenses, or expenditure, etc. This one for financial, right? And the other one we also have performance of the project itself in terms of the specification of the design, testing results, and etc. Okay, so these three are the triple constraints that most of the project manager, most of the related parties that they are concerned on. Okay, they are going to control on these triple constraints. Okay. So this is continuation for the project control cycle. Okay, I think maybe most of you or some of you already aware regarding this cycle. If just simply known as PDCA, plan, do, check, and act cycle. Okay, PDCA. We have these four key activities for this project control cycle. We act during the planning, specification, project schedule, project budget, resource plan, and also vendor contract will be planned during the stage, during this phase, and then during the do stage. Okay, we need to do, we need to construct, we need to implement, so we need to compare actual status against plan, both physical and financial progresses. Okay, so do relate to the control. Once we conduct the work, we need to what we call check. We need to compare the actual status against plan and plan and actual status. Sorry, this one check. Sorry, this one not control. This one check is the monitor and act relates to the control and action. For here. So during the checking stage, we need to monitor the report status, progress, and so on. So these two are also interrelated. Do and check. Then if there are some deviation from the plan, you need to replan as necessary. So here where we need to control the activities. Okay, so that's how monitoring and control interrelated. Okay. How they are going to what we call how they are going to be involved in this cycle. Okay. Now it's all for the PDCA cycle. Okay, now the next one we have the next we will focus or we will cover on earned value analysis. We are going to get on the estimating percent completion, right? So for the estimating or the estimation of the completion percentage, there are four, right? For different for types of the method or rules that we can use. The first one we have 50-50 estimate. So that it is refers to how we assume that 50% of the works we can assume that when task is in okay, and the other 50% the rest we will estimate when the work is completed, right? So that's the method for 50 estimate. And the next one we have the 0 to 100 rule. Okay, for this method as compared to the first one, okay, as compared to the first one, it allows no credit for work until task. This one is task. Task is complete, right? So no credit is allowed for the work for the specific activities until it is complete. So it is actually a highly conservative rule as compared to the previous one because we need to wait for 100% completion of the work. Okay. And then for the third one, we have another method of critical input rule. Okay, so for this method, for estimating the percentage of completion, try to assign progress according to the amount of critical input. Okay, most of the time, this one is for critical activities or any works that need priority. So we will assign the progress according to the amount. Okay. For example, any works or any activities that depending on the level of machineries. So that one we use for this method, right? Critical input rule. And the other method or the other types of the how we want to estimate the percentage of completion is using the proportional rule. Okay, for this method, we need to divide plan time to date by total scheduled time cost to date by the total budgeted cost to calculate percentage of completion. So we need to do the division in order for us to use this proportional rule. So briefly, these are the four types of method to estimate the percentage completion of the work or activities. Okay. Next one. Next one, we will continue still on the earned value analysis. This is the subcomponent for basis of cost and performance student evaluation. Alright, for this one, we have several basis of cost and performance student evaluation. The first one, we need to have baseline cost to completion. Okay. Baseline cost to completion. So we refer it as a budget at completion. So mostly it BAC. Okay, and then we have actual cost, meaning that the actual amount of money spent for the project progress or completion of the project. So actual cost to it refers to the estimated cost at completion, right? So it is BAC. That one for the basis of the cost. And in terms of the variance, okay, later we will look at on the variance. The variance will be identified based on negative value. If there is any negative value, so it will consider as a bad progress or bad report for the specific activity. Okay. And then cost and schedule variance. So later on we will have CV and also SV. Cost variance and schedule variance are calculated as earned value minus some other measures. Okay, so we will get on that. Okay. Right. Okay. So this is the continuation for the previous basis of cost and performance student evaluation. In this graph plotting, we can see the cost versus time, and here we have the S curve in terms of the how we want to interpret the CV. Here we have CV cost variance. Okay, we have the SV for the schedule variance. All of the related basis of the cost. Here we have BAC and BSC. Okay, so we can calculate the variance at completion because the equation is BAC is equal to BSC minus BSC. So this is how the interpretation of the basis of cost and performance student evaluation. Okay, so we can see the plotting here. Okay. Each of these line, okay, for this we call line for the progress of work, which is S curve. Okay, the green line represent the earned value EV, and then we have also AC and also planned value. So planned value according to the schedule, this one, actual cost here, and then this one, earned value. Okay. So this is how the arrangement or the interpretation of the cost and the performance did evaluation. Okay, so later on I will share on the variance and also indicator for the earned value analysis. Alright. So basically for earned value analysis, there are several types of variation. Okay, so for this one, in order for us to calculate the variation or the variance, we need to do the deduction. The first one, we have CV, as I mentioned just now, cost variance, and then we also have SB, and this one for time variance. Okay, so cost referring to the spending amount that we spend for the project. Okay. So how we calculate all of these CV, SB, and TV? We need to do the deduction of these two components. Okay. For example, here we have CV. We need to deduct ECWP budgeted cost of work performed with the actual cost. Okay. So we just deduct these two items, similar goes to the schedule variance and also time variance. Okay, just take this, the first item minus the second one, and if the result is negative value, it will show a bad indicator, because negative value in terms of CV, it represent cost overrun. So meaning that you are on our budget for the project, okay, for the financial progress. And then for the SV schedule, which is the duration or the time physical progress of the work, if the negative value appear here, so meaning that you are behind the schedule. Okay, so that's the main indicator that project manager or anyone who are interested to know regarding the project progress. Okay, and then we also have here time variance. Okay, this one also relates to the physical progress, where negative value represent progress, right? Okay, that's all for the variance. Different types of variance for a value analysis. Okay, then the other what we call indicator that being used for EVA and value analysis is index ratio. So for index ratio, similar to this one, cost, schedule, and time. Here also we have cost performance index (CPI), schedule (SPI), and also time performance index. Okay, so later I will relate all of this with some example here. However, for index ratio, as compared to previous one, whereas in terms of calculation, we need to do the division instead of deduction. Okay, we need to divide this point and this value, this item, so that we will come up with the CPI, SPI, and also TPI. Okay, so this is example, right? Sample question for a value analysis. For the sample question, we can assume that operation of a work package costs 1,500 to complete. Okay, so they were originally scheduled to finish today. So at this point, we actually spent 1,350. So it's already estimated that they have completed 2/3 of the work. Okay, meaning that they have remaining 1/3 for the work to be completed, with the balance or the rest of the budget. Okay, so what are the cost and schedule variance? So we need to calculate, or we need to find the cost variance and also schedule variance. Right. So in this case, it is given that BCWP, budgeted cost, work performed, BCWP is 1,000 BCWP, and this is the ACWP, because this is the what they have actually spent, actual cost of the work performed. All right, so we need to do the deduction here for the CV, and it is given the completion of physically progress of the work. So they need to times with the BCWP. So at the end, this is the value for the current CV. So it's showing that negative value, meaning that they are over budget, cost overrun. Okay, similar goes to the SV schedule for the physical progress. They are also behind the schedule because this one is in negative amount or in negative value. Okay. For the CPI and SPI, we need to do the division here. Take the same amount, the same value, but you need to do division, and you can come out with this one. So less than one also represent where the record is not good. Okay, so this is basically how we analyze the progress of work using earned value analysis. So far, is everything okay? Hopefully all of you can understand this one. Right. Most of the my part are focusing on the fundamental. So the detailed calculation or the complex nature of the calculation are supposed to be covered by Associate Professor Asruddin. Okay. So the next one is just interpretation or the analysis of the previous sample. Question 1, here we can see that spending higher than budget, and given what we have spent, we are not as far along as we should be. We have not completed as much work as we should have, right? So meaning that they can interpret, they can analyze the progress of work in terms of the, as I mentioned several times, in terms of the physical progress and also financial. So based on the calculation, they can track, they can monitor the financial progress in terms of their spending and in terms of their expenditure, meaning that the current or the actual spending. Okay, and then it is possible to have one of indicators to be favorable while the other unfavorable. In this case, it's showing that all the indicators are quite unfavorable because it recorded negative value here. So in terms of the whole progress of work, it's quite not good, okay, because they are slightly behind the schedule and they have cost overrun over there. Okay. So the indicator can indicate either our progress may be ahead or behind this schedule, ahead of schedule and behind the cost. Okay, so all of these are very necessary because it can be used as an indicator for our project tracking or project monitoring. Okay, and then the next one is okay, this is the continuation for sample question. So basically this figure summarize or showing the 6 possible arrangement of ECWP, and baseline resulted in 4 combination of positive and negative schedule variance. Okay, so if we can see here that this is the baseline. Okay, there are 6 what we call 6 equation with different what we call different record for the BCWP and ECWP. So these 6 possible situation recorded different indicator in terms of the schedules SB and CV in terms of the analysis for the project progress. Okay, you can see all of these 6 possible arrangement where this is the baseline, the middle line is the baseline for the first case. This is the BCWP and ECWP. Okay. For the second case, we can see that BCWP and ECWP what we call upper than the baseline. Okay. This one lower than the baseline. So each of these situation will indicate different situation, okay, different project progress condition, especially in terms of SV and CV. Okay, then this is the another sample question related to EVA. Right. Okay, this is about a project to develop a country park which has actual cost in month 78 given that in month 70 of this one, 350,000 and plan cost of 475,000 and value completed is 300,000. And what we need to calculate here, CV and also SV, so one element or one item, second item, and three indexes, that's right, in terms of CPI, SPI, and also PVI. Another one is PVI. Okay, so this is what we need to find, what we need to calculate. Based on the given information, this is the plotting, time versus cost, on week, on month 17. This is the record for BCWS. This one, budgeted cost of work schedule, CWS, and then actual cost of work performed, and then budgeted cost of work performed. Based on this given information, this is the plotting, right? And then we need to calculate this CVSV, and we are almost calculated too. Next one. Okay, this is the solution for sample question 2. We need to have BCWS, BCWP, and ACWP. Okay, so just key in all the information in this record. In the question for the CV, we need to consider BCWP minus the ACWP. So we have here negative value also. And then CV, similarly, we have BCWP minus BCWS. You can refer back to the table. This is just a simple example for the calculation. Still, we have the negative here. And we need to calculate all these three, CPI, SPI, and also TPI. All right. So all of these calculations are quite straightforward. However, for the TPI, you need to consider the STWP and also ATWP. You can refer back to the table for the full name, right? So STWP, we need to estimate it based on the given information here. Okay, so for the STWP, we can consider for the this one, T is equal to SV divided by the slope of plan cost. So we already have SV here. We already calculate that, which is the value is negative 175. So divided with cost slope. So how we calculate the cost slope? We need to have this BCWS work schedule cost, BCWS minus divided by 17 of the month. Okay, so it will be this the time negative 6.26. There will be the amount here, the value here. Then we can calculate the time difference. So okay, take the 70 months minus supposed to be plus, however there is negative here. So minus within this one, we will calculate this. So TPI, just use the formula, the time difference divided by 7 for the whole to across the current month. Okay, so this is the amount of the TPI. So we calculate the 1, 2, CV, SV, CPI, SPI, and also TPI. Right? So far, that's all I think regarding the fundamental parts and also some simple calculation for the EVA, okay, which is related to our today's topic in terms of the project monitoring and controlling. So far, do you have any question? Is everything okay? Everyone, is everything okay?
Yes, doctor.
All right. So hopefully all of you can understand the what we call the overview for this topic. And for those who also join class for project planning and scheduling, this one also related to that subject. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, some of the content, some of the topics are interrelated. So project estimating basically related to the project planning and scheduling itself. And then it's also related to the some part of the financial management. Okay, hopefully all of you can try to understand this topic, right? So anything you may ask me. So for I think that's all for today for my part. Supposed to be by next week, PM Azruddin will continue the class, right? So this is, I think this is the final meeting for our class, okay, for my part. So anything, you just contact me for any question or any query, okay? I will try to assist all of you. So with that, I think that's all for today, and I really appreciate your participation. Okay, and before we end our class, please scan your attendance. Please scan the QR code for the attendance record. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you to all of you. Assalamualaikum and good day. And also good luck to all of you.